is what's best for business.
I gotta go take a big hairy dump.
Oh my God!
Tonight's main event, a tag team match.
Yes!
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. Here we talk about wrestling news and we review Raw every week right here on YouTube and on Podbean. My name is Turbo Tony. We're here with Matt Marstander. How are you doing there today, Matt?
Not so bad, Tony, yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Do you have a good New Year?
Yeah, couldn't complain. Felt a bit fragile New Year's Day, but I think it's safe to say everyone did.
Yeah. Actually, in honour of the whole New Year's thing today, as you know, people obviously don't know, I don't drink a lot. I'm drinking a beer live doing this show right now. So, monumental.
I feel like I should have one myself.
Yeah. I'm out drinking you finally, so there we go. I'm only having one beer because I don't want to start slurring. I don't want to, like, every single subject we do, I'll finish a beer and start a new one, because by the time we get to the end, I'll just be a mess. So
by the end of it, just sounds like a Steve Austin promo.
Yeah, maybe for our 100th episode, I might do that if we get enough, sort of, going from there. But we had the Raw that we're reviewing here is the last Raw of 2013. It wasn't actually sort of the look back show that I was expecting, which was a good thing. And this show overall was a lot better than last week's, which really isn't like a big.
Oh yeah, New Year easily beat Christmas, but Christmas wasn't exactly a challenging one to beat.
It wasn't exactly a high bar to jump over, sort of thing. Yeah. We don't have that much wrestling news also this week, but we'll wrap them up as soon as we can. One of the things that really dogs me off last week was we covered the AJ Styles sort of thing that was going on with TNA, and literally seconds after we finished the recording, it announced that he signed for Ring of Honor, and then he showed up on TNA this week as well. So, not really much that we can say about this because it just seems to be all over the place. But it looks like he has amended his sort of bridges with TNA, and he's still working with them. I still kind of question the fact that the news broke that he signed for Ring of Honor, but I mean, did you hear much about this at all? Or
I didn't really hear anything about this. No. I remember sort of finding out. It's like, oh, so Ring of Honor is sort of the way he's going. But since then, I didn't know about sort of turning up at TNA. I didn't.
Yeah, well, on TNA Impact, he showed up, and obviously he left the company as champion. They sort of did the same thing that CM Punk did, when he left with the championship.
Yeah.
Then Cena won it, and then they had the Who is the Real Champion match, and they had CM Punk against. This is back when CM Punk did that awesome promo. But
the pipe bomb, yeah.
Yeah, but they're kind of running along the same thing, and they pretty much ran the same sort of program on Impact, where he returned with the TNA Championship and everything along those lines. So either it was a really grand, elaborate work, which fair enough if they'd done that, but I personally didn't see Ring of Honor kind of going along with that, and essentially being TNA's bitch with the whole thing and just kind of playing along. And
oh, definitely, yeah.
Get cheap plug. I didn't see. I mean, Ring of Honor are quite proud of their product, and rightly so. They've got a lot of good wrestlers there. I mean, I don't catch a lot of
people who have come through Ring of Honor as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the pedigree of guys that have been there. It almost reminds you of ECW of old, where anyone who was anyone at that time had at least spent a little bit of time in ECW. And you look at the likes of Steve Austin was in ECW for a while, Rey Mysterio, Chris Jericho was in ECW. So there's a lot of guys there, and it seems like Ring of Honor sort of taking that niche, and they've got a lot of good guys working there. But yeah, that was a little bit shocking anyway. And I don't really know where they're going with this now, and we know what sort of contract signed. Not a lot of details have come out, obviously, because it's all sort of it was only Thursday that he arrives on there and everything along these lines. So, but Chris Benoit, this is the next bit of news, has been announced that he will be featured on the WWE Network. So Stevie Richards will not be playing the role of Chris Benoit on the WWE Network. If you don't know what this means, it's not as if he's obviously going to come back. The WWE Network, we're going to cover this at the end of Raw review. We're going to talk in quite in depth about the WWE Network. But Chris Benoit, obviously WWE have tried their best to keep him out of everything that they've shown since the incident that occurred.
Oh yeah.
And you can have your some people might say, oh, his despite what he did, his wrestling credentials can't really be put under a microscope. He was still fantastic, and you have to recognise him for that. I'm under of course the thing that doesn't matter how good. If you've murdered your family, then you've murdered your family, you're a scumbag. That's just the way that I go about it anyway. I know that's probably a bit controversial.
I mean, you can't deny sort of the accolades that he did during his time, but Yeah, no, I can understand where you're going with that.
It really annoys me when people actually say that and stuff, where they go, "Oh, he was a great wrestler. No one can take that away from him." You do realise that Hitler was a fantastic leader of his country before he went and slaughtered billions of Jews. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't change the fact that what happened. It's just So think about that next time that you're saying these things anyway. But they're going to put a disclaimer on top of everything that shows Chris Benoit, and to basically notify that. Essentially saying that WWE don't really want to show him, but there's not really any way they can work around it. So with the WWE Network, they allow you to watch all of their back catalogue. Obviously, that includes a lot of Chris Benoit. There's a lot of moments. I mean, they edited him. I don't know if you noticed that on Raw when they showed the Randy Orton promo. They edited Chris Benoit pretty nicely out of that. When he's the youngest world champion. Well, he beat Chris Benoit to become the youngest world champion, and there was no sight of him on that.
I mean, I think we'll sort of go on to it a bit more later on, but then it was during the match, where Triple H, his quad basically came away from his leg.
Yeah.
Now, that was in a tag team match.
Yeah.
And who was it against?
Yeah. Was it against Chris Benoit?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I think you're quite right, because you see what I'm thinking is that he got injured. This was later than the quad one. This is why I'm getting confused. He got injured when he was doing the DX thing when he went against rated RKO, and that's the one that I'm remembering. But no, okay, fair enough. I'll take you up on that. And also, to be fair, I called you and I was absolutely adamant that Batista and CM Punk had never wrestled each other, and I searched it after last week and I found that they had.
It was that moment when you posted on my Facebook wall. It's like you were right.
Yeah,
it's like,
I'm on no legs at all to call you on wrestling knowledge at this point. You have taken that. You've taken that. So yeah, that's the bulk of the wrestling news. Anything else was sort of this person is out of contention, and this person might be signing, and everything along those lines. If there's anything else that I missed, then I'll just add it on to next week's show. So then we move on to our usual segment of Let's Talk Wrestling Podcast. If you just joined us, our main thing of what we do on this podcast is that we review Raw every week. We don't review SmackDown because, well, we're actually going to go into reasons why that is towards the end of the show. Actually, no, I'll say it now. I don't want to say, keep watching it and you'll find it at the end. Just to take into account the end of this show with what happened to Daniel Bryan and the Wyatts. They didn't even reference a lot of that. Like, Daniel Bryan wasn't on SmackDown as part of the Wyatt family, because that's the way that they run SmackDown. SmackDown has good matches. It continues some rivalries, but if they want to show something big, then they'll save it for Raw. So that's the reason why we review Raw and not SmackDown. And the fact is as well that, there's no denying it now. Raw is the flagship show. SmackDown hasn't been.
Well, SmackDown is sort of like an hour of Raw anyway. It's like what happened earlier in the week.
A lot of Raw rebounds and everything. I know. Yeah. One of the podcasters that I quite enjoy actually was quite annoyed that they started showing up on NXT, and once they start seeping in, you can't get rid of those Raw rebounds. They will be there. So, but in all fairness, I mean, they've stopped kind of doing that sort of thing on Raw at least, where let's have a look at last week's Raw. They haven't shown it as much. They tend to try and build up the main event more, which I kind of appreciate a little bit more. So we start off Raw. Before we start off, I mean, were you under the assumption, Matt, that obviously this was a more sort of, it wasn't a great Raw. I'm not going to say it was amazing, but it was far better than last week, and I think that highlighted the fact that
easily.
Yeah.
The thing I quite like is the fact that it was on a half crew. Because WWE had their issue. They were currently doing a live event in Toronto.
Yeah.
Hence why there was no Cena, there was no Randy Orton.
Yeah.
No Big Show and things like that, and like Kane wasn't here. Like, oh no, Kane's not here because he was there.
Yeah. And
it's and it actually almost made it better because it gave everyone the time to do things.
It did, yeah.
Unfortunately, it did mean that I had to watch more of the Great Khali.
Yes, which is never a good thing, really. Yeah. I mean, this, as you say, they split up the crews to do the live event. So as far as I know, there's a lot of business to be made over the holiday period to be doubling up on these live events. Because a lot of people obviously want to spend good money to go out and enjoy it over the holiday period because they're off work and that sort of thing. But the likes of this lot were the ones that actually did an event in Madison Square Garden, and as you say, the John Cena, Orton, Big Show, all that lot were over in Toronto. I didn't realise they were in Toronto. I know they were just somewhere else. Yeah. A little bit of news from that as well is that apparently Kane's been wrestling as his old sort of, where he was basically no mask, no t-shirt, just had the bottom sort of thing. And
Oh, right, yeah.
so he's gone back to that now, except he hasn't shaved his head, so he's still got a little bit of hair apparently. I've seen a few pictures of him like that. So
I haven't seen anything.
yeah, obviously I don't see him wrestling on Raw anytime soon. They obviously don't see him doing that for a while. They want to keep him in the role that he's in, which I think is a bit of a shame, really, because they just kind of diluted his character more and more as the weeks progress.
Okay.
The Candy Cane. That's going to be hard for me to get out of my head now. So, so this is the reason why. Sometimes I'll say that Raw should start off with a match. When Raw starts up this way, I don't have too much of a problem with it. When it starts off a promo that leads immediately into a match that's to do with that promo, I don't have too much of a problem with that. And this is what happened this week. CM Punk came out. He did another really good CM Punk promo.
Yeah.
One of the things that I could probably say negatively towards CM Punk, even though he's had a fantastic year in terms of wrestling and just overall, is that sometimes his promos do come off a little bit hokey, and sometimes they come off as a little bit rehearsed. But this one wasn't one of those. It was very good, and it teased tension with the Shield, which is obviously something that started a very long time ago. And they really put the slow burn on these guys. They're not just going to have 1 week of them, oh, now we're just going to go against each other. I'm kind of appreciating the fact that they are sowing the seeds every now and then of them not getting on.
So of their little separation. I think I quite liked it because, like, you had that bit where it's that sort of back and forward that you had between Punk and Ambrose, and it's just like, oh, well, I'll do it. And it's like, no, I've beaten you before.
Yeah.
I've beaten you a few times.
They've had some good matches as well, haven't they? Really?
They have had some awesome matches, but it's still that sort of like, Ambrose, shut the hell up. You could be gobby, but you're not the best of the group.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it was also quite good because he was just like, and then like Rollins is like, I'll do it. It's like, it was almost a sort of, who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Like, nobody cheers Rollins, everyone cheers for Reigns.
Yeah, there was a big pop for Reigns during this, wasn't there? They were calling for a Reigns match, and to be fair, they were teasing it. They obviously wanted this to be the finale of the match. Obviously, Punk's going through a series of single matches with these guys, and they want to leave Reigns till last because he is the next big thing. I mean, that's one of the things that we've been saying over the last couple of weeks. But I mean, in terms of the match, I mean, just to say that Brad Maddox came out. He was quite prominent on this show, Brad Maddox, which is rare because, I mean, for a Raw GM, he's been barely seen over the last couple of months because all of his decisions have basically been taken away from him. But...
Speaking of like popping up out of nowhere, I didn't even notice Lawler was missing. The fact he's been off for like the past 2 weeks, like, I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, and he's back from his holidays. It's like, oh, I thought he just left. I don't miss Lawler.
I think that's a whole sort of subject on its own, isn't it? That I actually like the two-man booth of JBL and Cole more because it feels like they can run off each other rather than. So it's almost like with a three-man booth, they don't know when to add their part in case it runs over someone else's shoes.
Yeah.
And then JBL, when he's trying to get his point across, kind of runs over everyone, sort of thing.
But they've got to try and make time for, like... It's almost like... Imagine you're sitting around with a family, and then you've got your old geriatric granddad sat in the corner who just wants to make a random little outburst.
Yeah. I wouldn't put
That's his Lawler.
Okay, that's one way of putting it.
Does Lawler do any? He doesn't do anything now. Lawler. He goes, oh, that looked a bit painful, and he makes a shit joke.
Yeah, he does really. I mean, I actually went back and watched, like when I went back and watched a few of the old matches. I was watching. Oh no, it wasn't actually one of the old matches. I went back and watched the Rock concerts, if you remember them, the old ones. This is back when he was heel, and you've got like JR, who's obviously doing what JR does, fantastic, doing the play-by-play and playing the face commentator, and then you've got King obviously playing the color commentator, being a very good heel commentator, and he's everything that Rock said that was against the audience. He was well on it. It was 100%. Like, he was snap, lightning quick on all these things. Oh yeah. And he's just not really that anymore. I think he does what is natural to him and what he thinks is satisfactory. But I mean, we haven't exactly had great King commentary for a number of years now. So, which I think is odd. The fact they wanted to get rid of JR for so long, but JR really never had a dip in the quality of his commentary. But they've never really had that with Lawler. They've stuck by him. They really like him in commentary. And I don't dislike JR. Dislike King as a wrestler or even as a personality, but his commentary has got a bit stale at this point. Maybe he needs a change of pace, possibly.
That's it.
But we're getting way off
We
topic
got
again, as we
completely
usually
sidetracked. Yeah.
So anyway, the match had it. I thought this was a fairly decent match. Yes, it had its few botchy moments. There was a few moves that didn't come off that well, but I think that they moved on quick enough that it didn't really. I mean, I didn't look at it as a horrendous.
It's like
match.
an old rule of like if it wasn't meant to happen, at least make it look like you meant it.
Yeah. And I think they did, sort of thing. You know, they didn't dwell on it. It wasn't as if the Divas do a botch and they just they look around and looking at the crowd trying to figure out where do they go from here, and they just
we had one of them earlier. No.
Yeah. So
no, Punk and Rollins.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So, but I didn't think this match was too bad. But Punk went on Twitter and basically
slammed his own match.
He did. He slammed it to high heaven. He said it was horrendous, the match, and I obviously he wrestles to a very high standard, especially on TV. You don't see many botches from CM Punk at all, if anything along those lines. I think the reason maybe why there's obviously botches may happen. I don't know if these guys have wrestled much, in singles action on live shows. I very much doubt they have. But they're two good wrestlers. I mean, you can't. This wasn't a bad match. I think Punk may just obviously hold himself up to a very high standard. And this match definitely wasn't up to the potential of what it could have been, but it wasn't bad by any means. I enjoyed watching it.
I enjoyed watching the match. Yeah, it was there was good sort of little sequences and good bits of chain and things like that.
Yeah. And it peaked at the right moments, and it told a story at the end of the day, which it did. The fact that the Shield are beside him, he was trying to prove himself, and eventually that ended up getting the end of him, sort of thing. That they kind of all clashed with each other, sort of. So it had a story to it. So I didn't think it was I don't think it was as bad as horrendous or anything like that. I still think they could have a better match, but I mean, this is just the start of Rollins' career, really, isn't it? So
that's it.
In WWE. So they'll probably end up having another great match, and we'll look back on it now. We'll say, well, look, this is obviously what the match that they thought they could have had, and I'm sure that will happen. But the Punk gets the win in this match, obviously, and teases dissension in the Shield, and they teased very much during the show that it's going to be Punk against Reigns next week, which is, for all intents and purposes, the main event of this rivalry that they're doing with.
It's the fact that they did the advert in the old school. Like I know next week's old school Raw, but it's the fact that it was in the old school style as well. It's like, yeah. But I have a question.
Go on.
If they were to have a cage match at old school Raw, do you reckon they break out the blue bars?
The classic cage.
The classic cage.
When I think of the classic cage, I actually think of a spot that was done with Bret Hart and Owen Hart, where he did this suplex, and it was on that same on that same cage. I think one of the main reasons why they got rid of that cage is that I think it would have been really harsh on your body to bounce on.
Yeah.
And for that, I don't think they would bring it back.
They just avoid doing a cage match.
I think if they were to do it old school,
just the most common thing nowadays. But
just think about it anyway. For anyone who hasn't obviously been in the cage, obviously there's a lot of people who haven't been in the cage match that do podcasts, obviously. But I imagine it's a lot easier to bounce and bump against very sort of like giving chain link rather than very tough steel.
Yeah.
The bars, you know what I mean? Then, there's a lot less risk involved in that. And there's a reason why they do that, when they do these big bumps, they bounce off the chain link rather than the bars themselves. Because it's safer, and you get a little bit, it's almost like the canvas, you get a little bit of bounce in it, and it looks a little bit more spectacular while not making as much damage. So no, I don't think they would return to that. I think that they obviously got their cage. It would be weird though if they brought it back, because then they would have this old classic cage just sitting around their production trucks, and they're obviously not using it. But I very much doubt that anyway if they were to bring it back. I mean, would you like to see it back at all? I mean,
I'd like to, if they went with, just sort of sticking with the old school. I mean, like I said, it's not like cage matches. Like cage matches are common nowadays. I mean, a stipulation match is sort of like really hard to come by nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, other than the Sandow Ziggler ones we've had recently.
Yeah.
I mean, can't actually off the top of my head remember the last cage match I watched.
Yeah. Well, they do these sort of shows that they like TLC and Hell in the Cell. They kind of bookmark themselves into
Yeah.
that, which I don't like. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I still reckon if they were to do a cage match on Old School Raw, it should be an Old School cage.
yeah. Well, I wouldn't personally myself. I wouldn't be bothered that much if it was or it wasn't. It would be quite nostalgic if they did.
Oh yeah.
And that cage is easier to get up, I think. But I don't think it has any like the supports or anything. I don't know. I can't obviously say for sure, but I think it's mainly safety issues the reason why they don't do that. And obviously, I imagine it looks a bit more spectacular. I mean, if you go against that cage, the old school cage, that thing ain't gonna budge. So you can bounce off the chain link one, which is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Personally. So. Yeah, they did the promo obviously teasing that, and they did it on the old school music and everything. Old School Raw, I'm really excited for Old School Raw. I really get excited for that because I think it's one of the shows. Unlike the Slammies comes off as really gimmicky and comes off a little bit as it's just there to be there, but the Old School Raw they kind of go all out, don't they? I remember one time they did it, and obviously they all wore the old stuff, and they brought back.
They're all in the suits, and like Cole was in that creamy brown suit.
Debacle that is a suit.
Yeah. Like Lawler was in the red and the crown.
Yeah, that's it. And they even they go down to the fact that the microphones, they do the classic microphone. The little touches.
Yeah, they're cabled, not wireless.
Exactly.
It's good,
yeah. I like the little touches and everything. Obviously, you're gonna have a lot of guys coming back, and I heard that DDP is going to be there, which is awesome. I'm a big fan of DDP, which would be weird to see on Old School Raw considering he was WCW for all that time. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of old favourites there, so it's going to be a good old show. Yeah, and obviously Ric Flair, which they tease on this show as well. Which I've heard apparently they've told him and pretty much given him the ultimatum now of behave, don't do another WWE 2K14 debacle.
I don't know what he did on the panel.
Yeah, basically he's on like pretty much his last strike with the company, which happened pretty quickly considering he only just left TNA really about a year ago to kind of rejoin with them. So. Then we had a segment here. Basically, it was just a setup, really. That's Maddox was basically speaking to the Authority, and he set up the main event, which is an Old Star Gauntlet match, which between Daniel Bryan and the Wyatt family, and this actually got me excited. I'm actually quite a big fan of Gauntlet matches. I think they can tell a really good story.
I like Gauntlet matches too. Yeah,
they don't tend to do them at all. Gauntlet matches.
No, oddly enough, the last Gauntlet match was Daniel Bryan again.
Who was that against?
I can't even remember, but I remember the last guy was Ryback.
Oh, okay. So yeah, okay, fair enough. But yeah, they don't do them very often. These Gauntlet matches.
Yeah, it was like something like I think it was Triple H trying to obviously screw over Daniel Bryan. It's around that sort of time.
Yeah, when he not CM Punk fighting the Authority and sort of thing. Yeah, it's quite ironic, isn't it? They kind of switch around. They do this all the time towards WrestleMania season, where they kind of just flip over rivalries, and one person will just start having a rivalry with this guy and this, just to kind of get up to WrestleMania season. That will happen a lot more towards Elimination Chamber as well. But this actually got me quite excited in terms of the main event. The fact that I knew that in order to have a decent gauntlet match, you're going to have to give it time, and anything that involves time and Daniel Bryan in a squared circle is going to be pretty much gold. So that got me excited in terms of the overall part of the show. But Stephanie McMahon apparently was going to show Maddox what needs to be done to watch and learn how to really run the show.
How to make a great announcement.
Yeah, to make a monumental announcement that John Cena and Orton will be having another match at the Royal Rumble for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. While I didn't really dislike the name of that title, just saying that now just seems like such a mouthful. I don't know.
Lesnar struggled.
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
It's like with the W World
something
Championship match. Yeah, that shiny thing that goes around the waist.
This announcement really didn't get anyone excited. I mean, to be fair, while I think that a singles match between Orton and Cena may be of a higher quality, funny enough, than a TLC match, it's weird that they did the generic match after the stip match. It just seemed a bit odd that they did that. And I think the general fan won't see it the way that we see it. They won't be like, oh, okay, this might be a decent mat-based wrestling match, and they might give them a bit of time, and they won't have to use all the TLC stuff. I think that they'll see it as, well, we just saw them have a war in TLC, so this is going to be less than that. I'm not going to be.
Yeah, why go from the war to the skirmish?
Yeah. And I think this is just essentially what it is. It's a blowout to their feud, so John Cena going to have his rematch.
I mean, I quite liked the video package.
Yeah, I like that.
It did remind me a lot of just sort of like, Orton has had some really good matches in his career.
Yeah, and you got to think this guy. I mean, a lot of people maybe don't give Orton the credit he deserves. In fact, he has been around for a very long time, Orton now.
Yeah.
And obviously he is one of their most established guys, and he's a good ring worker. I don't like it when people, just because they dislike someone, kind of just say that every part of their character is good. Yeah, see, Randy Orton can get very boring with his promos. I'll give you that. But his in-ring work, you look at some of the matches he's had. I mean, in that video promo, they showed his matches with Christian. They were phenomenal, the matches he had with Christian. Some of the best of that year.
That's like a really underrated. I think WWE turned around and said, "Oh, what's the most underrated rivalries?" And that was one of them.
And I would agree, personally. I think just because it was Christian in there, it didn't get the respect that it deserves. But I mean, not only that. I mean, he's had some good. Randy Orton's had some good matches with Daniel Bryan. Not the recent when he turned heel. Before then, he had some really good matches with Daniel Bryan, and he's had good matches. So you have to give him some sort of props and respect for that. But this match does not get me that excited, really. I mean, we know who's going to win. This is just the blowout. Orton will win. And John Cena will move on to whatever rivalry he's set for WrestleMania. So that's pretty much how it'll go. So the next match that we had on the night was Curtis Axel versus Dolph Ziggler. And whatever pot Brodus Clay was smoking when he said it was a main event player, Curtis Axel must have had a little bit of that himself.
You picked up on it too.
Yeah, of course I did.
It's like, I was one of the most dominant people of 2013. It's like, really
It was one of those moments where I did almost like an audio double take, where I was like, wait a sec, what did I just hear? And I had to go back, and I was like, wait a second. Yeah. Dominant Superstars of 2013, Curtis Axel wouldn't make the top 50, let alone one of the most dominant superstars. He had one of the weakest intercontinental title runs in history.
Oh, definitely. I think it's just sort of like he got given it because he's Mr. Perfect's kid.
Yeah. And I remember when he won it, it was on Father's Day, and obviously it was like, a good homage. I'll actually go on record to say that's probably going to be the best moment of his career.
Yeah.
Which is just really depressing for him, not for me. So, yeah, most dominant superstars of 2013, no. When you have to team up with Ryback, and personally, I think Ryback's got more to him than Curtis Axel. Then
I think Ryback could probably be one of the more dominant of 2013
in terms of looks, but not booking.
Oh yeah,
he's more dominant. He would be more dominant than Curtis Axel. At least he wrestled for WWE championships in that year.
Yeah.
So you got to give him that, Ryback. So, but dominant, no, that was quite strange that he would come out with that, and he tried to feed us some very smelly bullshit. So Ziggler got the clean win in this match, which was odd. I didn't really think they had any stock in this guy, and to be fair,
I really struggled getting through this match.
It wasn't great by any means.
It was a sound match, but nothing really happened.
It's one of those Kofi Kingston matches where it's not a bad match, but why would we care if it's a good match or not? It's not phenomenal. It's not going to make us think, wow, we need to go out of our way and watch this. We've got plenty of other matches of the same quality and higher.
I must go to the WWE shop. I now must buy merch. I'm the biggest fan of him ever.
Yeah, sort of thing. But, at the end of the day, Ziggler will probably wrestle next week and he'll lose. And it's the sort of story of Ziggler. They'll give him the odd win every now and then, but I mean, I don't know what they're doing with this guy. They've got nothing for him. I think one of the things that Ziggler needs to do is what CM Punk did back in the days where he was getting overlooked, and actually try and maybe come up with your own storyline and basically give them a script to say, run this with me for the next 6 months. That's what CM Punk did, and look where he is now. I mean, I know obviously that wasn't because of that, but I mean anything would be better than the rut he's stuck in now, surely.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That is what it is basically, and like I said, Dolph Ziggler will probably come out next week and he'll lose, and this match will mean nothing, even less than it means now, sort of thing. So right, Matt, I understand that you have a huge problem with downloading apps on your phone. You just keep forgetting how to do it.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just,
Matt, you're mentally retarded. That's what you are, okay? Yeah, but don't worry about being mentally retarded because you bought a phone that you don't know how to put apps on. Michael Cole's here to teach you how to put apps on your phone every week.
Like, have you had your phone for, like, I've had this phone, like, I've been on Android for the better part of about 3-4 years now. Do I understand how it works? Not a clue.
No,
Michael Cole, tell me how it's done.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, Matt, like I said, you don't know how. I mean, personally, I don't know how to install apps because I'm also mentally retarded, like the entire WWE universe. We're all mentally retarded, Matt. Did you know this? And Michael Cole needs to teach us every week how to install apps onto our phone.
He is the intellectual savior of the masses.
He is the new yeah, exactly. So he is not the hero that we deserve, but the one that we need. Seriously, in all fairness, though, guys, when is this going to stop? I mean, they've run this same thing over and over again, and yeah, this may work for the odd 80-year-old that got a phone and didn't know how to install apps. Fair enough, but that's not exactly the demographic.
I think I don't know up for my phone. But now it's like we are old. I think I don't even know if it's like, oh, it's because it's PG and WWE is now more child friendly, so more children are watching it. More children nowadays know how to work a phone.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you're 3, but you could work it better than someone who's 33.
Exactly. I mean,
it's ridiculous.
The people that obviously that they're teaching to use this app are not the demographic that they're actually going for with their product. So that's what makes this seem so odd. Fair enough if you want to run it once or twice, whatever, just to get a little bit more publicity on your app, whatever. But this is getting a little bit silly by this point, and they've run this almost every week.
All fair enough. Like, oh, we're doing voting on the app, and it's like, they have an app. That's cool. But it's like, I'm going to show you how to download your app. I'm not watching QVC. I don't want a talk-through demonstration of it.
What we'll have next, right, if this goes any further, we're going to have like Rosa Mendes by a big screen just basically running her hands down it and showing the irrelevant things that Michael Cole is saying in order to download the app.
Yeah, as my assistant will now demonstrate. And I'll just like Rosa Mendes, just like, here it is, stood next to it.
Yeah, and that'll be the biggest push that any diva's got, maybe, involved.
Especially Rosa Mendes.
So, yeah, a little bit stupid, this, and to be honest, I can see them continuing to do it, but yeah, it just seems really odd, this whole entire thing, but, get used to it, it's probably going to happen a few more times, so...
Well, the thing is, they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel when it came to this voting poll.
They did, yeah.
This is the sort of moment where it's like, wow, they really are on a half roster when it's Kofi, Carly, and The Miz.
Yeah.
It's like, who do I care about? No one!
Yeah. They do that a lot of times with the votes that they do, don't they? They put 2 obvious people that they're obvious choices that they're not going to do. Or one of the things that they'll obviously do as well is that they'll make 3 very vague things that can be technically the same thing. So they just get you to vote on basically nothing, essentially. So, if you're going to do it, fair enough, but go all the way. Just don't do it half-assed the way you're doing it. And they're probably trying to push it on because they're thinking they're not getting enough votes for people that have the app. But, make it at least a little bit more relevant and maybe people will vote and maybe... be a little bit more useful. But next on, anyway, we had the Biggie Langston Fandango Intercontinental title match. This was from obviously last week, where Fandango got his Christmas present on a pole, which just still seems to be like such a Vince Russo concept. But yeah, I mean, Langston. We said earlier on that obviously Curtis Axel was probably one of the worst IC champions in history. They're booking Langston to look like a proper champion at least.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They're giving this guy plenty of victories.
And the thing, this was like a proper match with regards to the IC title, because it's like, oh, it's the Intercontinental Championship. We'll give it about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And this one was actually given time to play out.
Yeah, this wasn't a hugely long match, but it was long enough for them to do the match and it to seem of a decent quality. And they
seemed of a challenge.
Yeah, at least they did. They gave Fandango a bit of offense. It wasn't just a squash.
The only problem there was one problem with it. It's like, I think they gave it too much time because they had to go for the same submission spot twice.
Yeah, that may be down to the wrestlers or anything like that. They couldn't cut. Yeah, I did notice.
I can understand. Big E is a powerhouse. Take out the legs, and obviously he's not. He's not as good. He's not going to be as powerful. Yeah. But it's like that's the exact same lock.
It was a bit of a drag as well.
Same way.
because that particular lock takes quite a while to actually get in. It's not exactly like the ankle lock, which you just flip them over, put the ankle lock in. You have to wrap your legs around the guy and then put fucking, this leg here, that leg there, and
my foot here.
Yeah, and he hasn't done it enough to do it as quickly as, let's say, Ric Flair can with the figure four. He just blocks that in, just bing, bang, bong, done.
So you mean Ric Flair, who could literally jump on someone and he'll be in the figure four?
He wakes up with someone in the figure four leg lock. He just does it in his sleep, sort of thing. Yeah.
Sorry, darling, I did it again.
I tried to reverse the pressure. No, we won't go to that. So yeah, I mean, Langston's getting some good treatment as IC champion. You look at those belts, and they've been poisoned to a lot of people that have had them. You look at the likes of Barrett, who had it. Then you had obviously, like I said, Curtis Axel, which was, he just did nothing with the belt, and but since Biggie Langston's taken the belt, he's getting wins, and he's been pushed as a proper champion, and it's good to see him rather in the ring rather than on commentary, not really shining in that sort of that sort of respect. So I think they're putting stock in this guy personally. I think they think that Langston could be something, and that's why they're treating him well. I mean, they like big guys, and he's a big guy that can go. He can wrestle, so...
Oh, that's it.
Fair enough.
But the one thing I quite liked is, like, you mentioned it, like, sort of showing that Fandango can do a bit more than just ponce around. Like, I don't remember the last time I actually saw him sort of wrestle as much.
Yeah, have a decent length match.
Yeah. I mean, like, that Tornado DDT, sort of like, where he sort of jumps up the ropes and then sort of spins around into the DDT. I was like... I think the last time we saw that was Mania.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, where he's had to push out his arsenal a little bit and do a few moves that isn't just isn't like a jumping leg drop and all those sort of things. So yeah, I mean, it kind of showed that maybe he's got a few moves in his locker if he needs to go that far. I still don't think that he can go any further than the length of this particular match, personally.
Oh yeah,
but. True. He's there at least. He's a gimmick, Fandango, and you can't ask for much more than a gimmick then to do these sort of matches.
Yeah, we need a dancer. There's a dancer.
Yeah, there you go. And I mean, the main reason he was brought in anyway is because Vince was hot on the whole Dancing with Stars sort of thing, and I'm sure if that starts up again, the show, which it obviously will, then who knows? Maybe Fandango will get a little bit of more airtime or anything like this. But we had another Bad News Barrett segment. This was after Booker T came out and basically said he's going to give everyone a New Year spin of Rooney, which fair enough. I would have liked to have seen, so fair enough.
That was actually one of the things I forgot. Is like, where was my spin of Rooney?
Yes, yeah.
I want my spin of Rooney.
Well, unfortunately, Matt, we've got some bad news for you. You did not get any spin of Rooney.
That's it.
This was pretty bad. This whole thing. Bad News Barrett basically said to everyone that the bad news was everyone was going to die.
Yeah. Like, don't stop being dicks to everyone, because at the end of the day, you're all just going to die.
It is, isn't it?
That was pretty much it. It's just like, cheers, Barrett.
It came off like, fair enough. I mean, this particular segment wasn't, as horrible as some of the weeks beforehand, but it still was pretty bad. I just think you should give this guy, I don't think they should use him in this capacity. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. I think you need him to pop up, not just every week for the sake of putting him on. At least give him a reason to, for instance, when Kane was telling people that they're on 3-on-1 handicap matches, in the same sort of situation, have Bad News Barrett do it. He's the guy who does it, and he takes delight in giving that
bad news.
Yeah, rather than him just showing up and just coming up with some bad news and then just delivering it off the spot. That just doesn't seem to work. And he's better than this, personally. We know that anyway. But yeah, apparently we're all going to die, so that's big Bad News Barrett's bad news. As if we didn't already know that.
There was one thing
we're not all immortal, but yes, go on.
Like, of all the people that came out onto the ramp.
Yeah.
There's one person I didn't recognise. Like, it was really bugging me, because as it went through, and I was like, right, so there's the Pride Time players, that's fine. Whether we got the Total Divas, yay. Mm-hmm. But then there was, one person, and I was just looking at him, I was
Alex Riley was out there.
It was Alex Riley.
There you go, yeah. So.
That was it, right. It was like, he looks familiar. Is that Riley? It's been so long.
Well, he hasn't exactly been on Raw for the last couple of years. I know he does commentary, doesn't he, on Superstars and stuff like that. So he does commentary and everything now.
He's on NXT, but I still haven't seen him on NXT.
Yeah. Which, as far as I've seen of his commentary, is not exactly stellar. So, not Max Striker sort of bad, but he's not that good sort of thing. So, fair enough if he's still there doing commentary and trying to find his niche in that way, fair enough. But I personally think when that guy came in, if they had used him a little bit better, then he could have been something at least. Maybe it was just his entrance music that I liked. That's probably it, to be fair. I didn't.
Oh yeah, I liked his entrance music too.
But
I don't know. I think it's just because the fact that I quite enjoyed seeing him beat up the Miz.
yeah, that was an enjoyable storyline. I thought they kind of drew it out a bit too long, didn't they? They had too many matches on pay-per-view against.
Yeah.
They kind of did it where he went, I think he went against him at the Great American Bash or Capital Punishment, or I think it was something along those lines. But he beat him there, and he had the conclusion, and I think they wrestled each other on a pay-per-view afterwards, and by then the feud was dead. There was no point to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, fair enough with that. But yeah, obviously they don't see him as a wrestler anymore. They just kind of that's it really.
Cheers for the run.
Yeah. So
Oh, goody.
Damien Sandow put his career on the line, so fair enough, and he put it on against the Great Khali. I'll let you take this one.
Why is the Great Khali still in the WWE?
Are you asking me a question, or are you just being...
That is a very good. That is a question. That is a statement. I want him gone.
Okay.
If I was part of WWE, it would literally, if I was Vince, I'd like, come here. Now go away. Far away. I don't want to see the back of your big ugly head or hear your awful voice or just see you awkwardly walk down the corridor.
I know one of the quotes of the show is the fact that you pretty much said that everything that he does is awkward, and I would agree with you with that. I mean, I know why he's there, because he's a gimmick. He's a big guy when he comes out. But I think anyone that would be shocked by seeing the Great Khali now is people that have watched the show for the first time, and there ain't too many people that would be doing that. So, I don't know about firing the guy, but I mean, this match wasn't very good, was it? Really?
He serves no purpose.
Yeah. I don't even want to see him as a monster.
Sound. It's literally he doesn't serve a purpose at all. It's like and the voting was so like it was like 3% in it, so even the fans just couldn't care. It's just like Khali, because why the fuck not?
Yeah, and I knew Kingston and Miz wouldn't get it because the entire world is sick of them.
Yeah.
Me. I've got a deep hate in my heart for to be fair, both of them. To be fair, at this point,
for Sleepy Kingston.
Yeah, Sleepy Kingston, who is the world's greatest sleeping tablet. They will be releasing them actually in 2014. The Kingston pill. You take it and you instantly fall asleep. You may never wake up again. Unless you watch an Undertaker match at WrestleMania, maybe that will bring you back to life. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Sandow beat him, and that's pretty much it. That's really all.
But the worst thing is, we might see it again next week.
Yeah, because apparently it was a dubious finish, which looked botched to me. Maybe it wasn't because they seemed to get on it quite quickly, or it was botched and they decided, okay, let's just fit this into the promos regardless. It looked botched.
Yeah.
I don't see Great Khali being of the wrestling capacity to be able to fake being, full sleep in. To me, I just think he's...
Was it just the simple fact that he's just so big and awkward, he can't be beat with a schoolboy?
Yeah. The roll-up pin is powerful enough to destroy anyone, of course. So
that's it.
Let's not call the awesome power that is the roll-up pin into question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that match is what it is. I mean, Sandow deserves a lot better than this. He's a better character than that. He's better on the mic.
It was like in the promo beforehand where he was saying, it's like, last week I tried to pretend I was Santa, and then I was knocked out of Tribute to the Troops, and then this, which is all just rubbish, and it's just like, it's true though.
Yeah.
I mean, why? He's sort of, obviously he's not even like a mid-card wrestler. He's just like, we just need somebody funny to fill 5 minutes.
We need someone who's relatively good on the mic to get a emotional response, but we're going to treat him like a jobber, which seems like such the wrong thing to do. For a guy who's decent in the ring and very good on the mic, it just seems like he should be elevated a little bit higher than this, personally. But, maybe they've just got that stamp on him. That's what they see him now, and unfortunately that's maybe all that he'll eventually be. I mean, the more time he spends in this sort of capacity, the less likely he's ever going to be anything of note in the future, which is a shame.
Yeah.
So, we had Brodus Clay against R-Truth, which is a match we've already seen from a couple of weeks ago, but apparently now it's more relevant because Brodus Clay is now a heel. I was a little bit ashamed that there was no difference to Brodus Clay really in this match. He was just the same Brodus of all. Xavier Woods was slightly entertaining on commentary, at least. You seem to take kayfabe uber seriously, so good for him.
That's it.
He was better than Langston on commentary, so that's a plus. But yeah, Truth got the victory here after getting Brodus Clay was
Distracted.
by the Funkadactyls, who've now stolen his entrance music, I imagine. And I mean, we don't even know what Brodus Clay's entrance music is now because they were in the ring literally.
Even Truth didn't even get his entrance. You just sort of hear the end of the music as it fades out.
Yeah. Now, unless this sort of leads to Brodus Clay snapping and just annihilating Truth and Woods and going on a Monster Heel run, I'm not really interested. I think that they need a Monster Heel, and like before anyone says, "Oh, you could use a Great Khali for that," no. Great Khali will never be a Monster Heel. The only time, I mean, even when he was a Monster Heel back in the days where he was fighting Batista for the world title, it wasn't believable then. Yeah, it wasn't like they've done so much damage to him now in terms of being a goofy moron. They could never turn that guy heel now.
Yeah, you can't have it. You can't have your Monster Heels pretending to sing like Christmas carols, the Raw before.
Yeah, and his only thing for like a year was basically he would do the kiss cams. Woohoo!
Oh God, I forgot.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Why did you remind me of that?
Sorry. No.
Oh.
It will haunt your dreams. But,
therapy.
Yeah. I'd find it quite funny maybe one day that if they ever were to bring that back, they would have Chuck and Billy next to each other and they show the camera on them, because they were quite the together tag team, shall we say. So yeah, I didn't understand why Truth got the victory here. If you're going to have Truth overcome Brodus, then why do it when Brodus isn't that big of a heel really at the moment? Got to build the heels up before they get beaten by the good guys. That's Wrestling 101. And yeah, they don't really build up their heels anymore, do they, WWE? They just make them heel and then let the good guys spank the crap out of them.
Goes to this whole sort of like, apparently Vince turned around and said there's going to be no more faces and heels. Wrestling 101, you need someone to cheer, you need someone to boo.
Yeah, and unless it's... Now, I understand that the idea of having the fans choose, that you have a guy come out, he has a personality, it may not be heel, it may not be face, but depending on how the crowd sort of cheer him, then you start kind of pushing him that way. That you let the crowd dictate who they want to cheer for. So, for instance, if they wanted to boo John Cena ages ago, then you make him a heel. That's the way that you do it. I understand it's a pretty cool idea to do it with sort of kind of listening to your fans in the most ultimate of ways. But yeah, you do need heels, you need faces. This is entertainment. This is not sport. If I watch two football matches go against each other that's okay because it's a legitimate sport. This is wrestling, it is entertainment, and in order to get into it, you need to look at my daughter is 4 years old. Whenever occasionally she watches wrestling, I tell her who the good guy is, I tell her who the bad guy is. She knows who to cheer for then. So if the good guy gets a slam or gets an attack, she gets excited. That's how wrestling works. That's how you get your good guys to be cheered for. That's how you get your bad guys to get beaten or to get booed. That's Wrestling 101 really. Apart from taking bumps, of course. So Triple H announced the return of Brock Lesnar. This was the next segment, which was a delightful surprise.
This was the one thing I was like, social media ruins wrestling.
Yeah,
like that would have been a huge shock for me. It's like,
well, if
I knew about it.
Well, you take it back to the days that we didn't have the internet, and so obviously we knew Brock Lesnar was under contract. I didn't know he was going to be showing up at this show. I knew he'd be showing up sooner rather than later. But I mean, we know that he's in contract, so he's going to be showing up sooner or later. But if we hadn't, then that might have been really huge. You know what I mean? That he was coming back. But I like this segment personally. I mean, obviously Paul Heyman's back, and whenever he's on the mic, then He's just a master of the microphone, really, isn't he, Paul Heyman? We can't.
Definitely
increase his superlatives more because he does really well. And this is sort of the one of the things. Back in one of the old episodes of LTW, remember we spoke about managers, if you remember. We said that managers can be a really great mouthpiece for a gimmick that it wouldn't make sense for a wrestler to speak if they're basically a monster heel, which is kind of essentially what Brock Lesnar is. He's not very good on the mic anyway. So you get a guy that's fantastic on the mic like Paul Heyman, and you let him do the talking for you, and it works. They don't do that much anymore, which is a shame. So, but this was good. What was your whole feel of? I mean, Paul Heyman's was good. I mean, I know that Brock Lesnar got on the mic and then had his slip up. So, what was your whole feeling about the whole thing?
I'm happy with it. Apparently there's people who are like, oh, why does Brock Lesnar deserve to be number one contender? Because he just comes along and says that he is. Because he's Brock Lesnar?
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that's why.
I think that along the lines of like when John Cena came back and he just got a title shot, it's a bit different, right? Because John Cena wasn't on TV and they just announced he was going to be the number one. That they announced that he was going to go for the World Heavyweight Championship. This is different. Brock Lesnar's literally come out and said, if anyone's got a problem with being number one contender, they can come out and try and stop me. That's different.
Yeah. And then he just F5 Mark Henry.
Then he squashed Mark Henry. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't really want to turn around and say no to the person who could squash Henry.
Yeah, and in such a convincing manner as well.
Mm.
So they really let them go all out on this.
There's only one problem with Brock Lesnar. He really does have the greatest Raw.
Well, not really.
He
has the funniest Raw.
I missed Brock Lesnar and his
that high. He always has the high pitched like moment in his Raw that's whenever Edge would come out to the ring and be the Rated R Superstar. Sort of, that same little bit is sort of in his shriek.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I know I've watched some pretty funny ones of like Taylor Swift and then adding his voice into it.
Well, the most recent one was "What Does the Brock Say?"
What does the Brock say? Which is quite hilarious. So yeah, if you haven't seen that, give it a watch once because why not? But in terms of getting him reminding the general wrestling audience of who he is and what sort of stature he is in terms of the roster, you couldn't have picked a better guy than Mark Henry to go out there and get attacked, really. So,
yeah. To be perfectly honest, it's like, who has a problem with that? And then Curtis Axel goes,
imagine if Curtis Axel actually came out and just gets mullered, destroyed.
That's it. That would be the end of Curtis Axel.
Yeah. You'd just be a piling, smouldering part of bullshit because apparently he's the most dominant superstar of So yeah, he obviously said that he's going for the WWE Championship and he would be kind of involved in that. I'm not so sure if he actually is going to be involved in a WWE title run. He may do, but they could easily play it off as he gets a title shot. Someone wants to make an impact for themselves. They attack him, and that starts up the rivalry going into WrestleMania sort of thing. I don't see WrestleMania going for the title at Mania personally.
No,
because Lesnar's the sort of guy that he doesn't want to work a full schedule, and to be full time, in terms of champion, you can't just win at WrestleMania then show up the month before SummerSlam. It doesn't work that way. Well, The Rock, when he was champion, at least he stuck around. He was on TV for at least one out of every two televised shows as the champion.
Yeah.
I don't see Brock Lesnar doing that personally. I don't think that's part of his contract. I think he only has to make a certain amount of appearances, and when he makes those appearances, he's happy just to leave it at that.
Yeah, he only had he was only contracted for 4 appearances in 2013.
Yeah.
So
now, I don't know if he signed a new deal. I don't know I don't like to speak about contract negotiations because we don't know the fine parts of that anyway. Even the dirt sheets probably don't know all the fine print that's involved in these negotiations. But maybe Lesnar is, maybe they've offered him a deal where he makes more appearances and that way he can, you'll get more money along those lines. Maybe, I don't know how they're doing it. I don't like to speculate too much on contracts, but I don't see him being WWE champion. I can see him have a match for the title. I don't see him winning it, and I don't see that match being for the WWE title being at WrestleMania, personally.
Yeah.
That's just me. Because, let's say that he was going to, then you'd have to have Cena beat Orton, and then you're going to have a Brock Lesnar Cena match, which I'm not interested in.
Yeah, but to be perfectly honest, you can't have... Then what's the point of doing the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what the Royal Rumble's for. It's for Mania.
And exactly as you said that. And maybe I was almost forgetting the fact that it doesn't matter now. If you win the Royal Rumble, you're going for that belt. You don't choose anymore, which is the first time they've had that for years and years, a decade really, that they've had that. So fair enough. Yeah, quite excited. I was quite excited to see Brock Lesnar. This is one of the most noteworthy parts of the show, apart from the very end of the Raw, which we're getting to. And fair enough, very good. And obviously, Paul Heyman is just fantastic, building up Brock Lesnar as a guy. So this is just this is what Paul Heyman does. If you give him time with a guy, then he can just boost him up. He didn't get a lot of time on screen with Curtis Axel. I don't think, obviously, Curtis Axel was obviously the guy that he wanted to work with. I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes along from there. The next match, Matt, was the 10 Diva Tag Team match. I really don't like repeating ourselves.
This was my match of the night. I loved it so very much. Eva Marie is my favourite. WWE has not cloned me or messed with my brain. I sing this with my own free will.
Yeah. All I have to say is the sarcasm is strong with you.
It's just like I was watching it. It's like, oh, Eva Marie started the match. She can't even sell water to an Arab. Like she cannot sell. There's like nothing about her. She did this whole sort of like, oh, a flick of my hair and a kiss to the camera. It's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, well, she doesn't know how to wrestle, and putting her in the ring for any sort of extended amount of time just shows that. I mean, she isn't good, and she's a long way from being good, let alone what I would.
No. She's a long way from being acceptable.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
not good.
So
that's next.
Yeah, I mean, apparently, according to the news, that they pretty much picked Eva Marie because they think that she's got more to her than JoJo. I think that's like picking out two really smelly turds and just choosing which one smells best in terms of wrestling.
Which one's the best shit? Well, that one's got sweet corn.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know personally. I don't know if she. I mean, I'd actually like to read an interview with Eva Marie and see if she's really someone who likes wrestling. I don't think she is. I think she wants someone to be a model, and this is a really quick, easy way to do that, and just take a few falls in the ring, not really real bumps, because she doesn't take bumps in the ring. So yeah, I mean, this is just a big. I mean, we were big abdications when we went back a few episodes ago. We talked about how we would our 2-year plan for the Divas division to make it relevant again. One of them was to get rid of these matches and have singles matches.
Yeah.
They seem to think that a Divas singles match is only pay-per-view worthy, which is
currently weird. I don't remember the last time. What did we have? Tamina versus Natalia recently.
Yeah, well, I don't know if for every match that they do, maybe on Raw, then they'll surround them with a horde of tag team matches.
They have to maintain the balance.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little bit just tired of it now. I mean, even the whole idea of having a Divas tag match is a little bit ridiculous because they've done them. They've done these matches just time and time again. This is the same stuff we've seen all along.
It's a Divas tag match. It's basically clusterfuck finish.
Yeah. I mean, Ixana got the win here, but no one cares because it's Ixana.
And what sort of finisher is that?
I don't know. She basically did an elbow drop on their head.
Yeah. So it's sort of like, I'm going to rest my elbow on the back of your head, and then we're going to fall to the floor.
Yeah. That was essentially it. And they were like kind of playing up as, oh, look at that maneuver. I was almost thinking like...
It's totally like Caitlyn with a spear. You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's a bit more devastating.
Yeah. Even though the spear's kind of watered down, I think maybe they've told her not to use the spear as much as while Roman Reigns has been using it, to try and get it over a bit more.
Yeah, or she's probably not allowed to use the spear because all the other girls were complaining because it hurt them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, you could know by the way that these girls bump. They don't like bumping. When was the last time you saw like a multiple clothesline bump run with these girls? You'll see it in any match, Let's say that you're a fan that's not so much into the technicals of wrestling. Whenever you see a match that goes on for a while, you'll see a spot where, let's say CM Punk is wrestling Dean Ambrose. CM Punk will clothesline Dean Ambrose will get up. CM Punk will clothesline him, he'll get up. Dean Ambrose is taking loads of bumps, and he has to take the big bumps and get straight back up again. You will not see these guys doing that.
No, here we go. The best example, and I'd hate to use it, Cena and the start of the 5 moves of Doom.
Yeah. Where they're all getting up.
Down, shoulder tackle, down. Yeah. Straight back up again, spin out powerbomb. And it's just like... But yeah, this is right, though. You don't see any of that in a Divas match.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not asking for them to kill themselves in the ring, of course not, but that's the sort of... I mean... That's the sort of physicality that the Divas division is missing. It looks like they're basically just like on each other and oh yeah, I elbow you in, yeah.
There was one thing I quite liked, which was that bit with like Cameron, when she sort of went up on the top turnbuckle, and I think it was like Caitlyn or something like that. It's like caught her legs, and then just pulled her off, and she just face plant, proper like pretty much busted her nose across the floor.
Yeah,
it's like. I like this.
But even then, that's not sort of the physicality that we're looking for.
It's not the physicality, mainly because it just looked like a botch that hurt.
It did. It looked like a bad botch, and it didn't look clean at all. So,
like, if she got up with a bloody nose, I would have smiled. Because it's like, I don't like you, Cameron. Bye-bye.
Yeah, this is... I mean, I don't like repeating ourselves, and we try not to really on the podcast, but
Yeah, but then the Divas matches happen, and we just can't help ourselves.
we can't really help ourselves. It's just so poor. It really is. It's so bad. But let's move on. We've got the finale.
Yeah.
The best match of the night is next. They did save the best till last.
Actually, there was one quick thing about the best for last before we finish off.
Yeah.
Right at the end of that Divas match, Lawler said he does like seeing good Diva matches.
He's been waiting for a
He
while.
must be. Yeah, that was like. They've got like an iPad on the stage. He's just like old matches. Let's watch Lita versus Trish. There we go. Well,
He's not actually watching the match. He's watching like one of the old full-length matches on the WWE YouTube channel. Yeah,
that's it. That's the only place. That's the only place WWE puts decent women's wrestling.
I would be shocked, funny enough, if they get a screenshot nowadays of like the guys that commentate aren't even looking at it, just looking at an old Divas match and commentating over that. Oh, what a maneuver! Oh, it's such a near fall, and they're getting really pumped up, but it's not actually the match that's in the ring, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me at all.
It's like, you remember a couple of weeks ago where they took a selfie. Like, I just wouldn't be surprised if they start doing that during women's matches. Just this match, it's like, selfie? Yeah, I couldn't give two shits about what's going on in the ring.
Yeah, let's take a whole bunch of selfies. Woo! I know, but in that case, I wouldn't mind because I don't care about what's going in the ring. I'd much rather have the camera on.
I should probably start taking selfies when I'm watching Divas matches. Just like
No.
Diva match pose.
To be fair, Matt, I don't like to see you depressed. I don't like seeing pictures of you depressed, so don't do that. Okay.
Oh, alright.
It gets me sad when I see pictures of you like that. So.
I'll take little selfies of when I'm watching matches like our main event.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Good segue there. That's that one, Matt. You're taking tips off me there. Yeah, very nicely done. So yeah, we had Daniel Bryan against the Wyatts here. The gauntlet match that was built up throughout the majority of the show. They did a lot of build up towards the show, in terms of video packages and stuff like that. And this was the best match of the show.
Easily.
Easily. Really good wrestling. Daniel Bryan with all the guys involved in this match. He had a great. I think the best, obviously, was when he was wrestling Luke Harper. They gave him and Luke Harper a lot of time.
Who do you reckon is the better out of Luke Harper and Eric Rowan?
Oh, Luke Harper.
By far.
Both.
Yeah.
Not by far. I mean, Eric Rowan does his job. He's
looks scariest.
He's a big guy, and he looks domineering. He looks physical. I've got no complaints with him.
Two.
But in terms of like having a long-term match, I would pick Luke Harper every day.
Yeah.
Although I have to admit that sort of that really weird noise that he makes in the ring is quite disturbing. Yes,
yeah.
It does sound like a starving moose having his last orgasm before dying, sort of thing. Which is a really bad visual for anyone who's listening to this at all. So
yeah.
But yeah, great match, and this
Bryan I'll say what, Bryan took some savage bumps.
Yes, he did.
Second rope powerbomb, a second rope fall away slam. Not to mention the fact that Luke Harper has the meanest clothesline on him at the moment.
He took a whole army of bumps in this match, and he had a lot of really hard ones. Towards the end of the match, he must have been fucked. I know.
It's like no wonder they carried him away from the ring.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to be carried away from the ring.
Yeah, he took a horde of punishment in this match. Anyone, in fact, who likes to say to us that wrestling's fake, I would love them to take Daniel Bryan's place in that match and then come and tell us afterwards if they thought it was fake, and just to see how well they can walk with their absolute fucked up back. Like I said, this was a great match. He had a really great match with Luke Harper. Then he had a very quick one with Eric Rowan, and then it all sort of dissolved from there on out. He never really got his match with Bray Wyatt as we kind of saw it coming. And I hate to say that I told you so, but this happened. He joined the Wyatt family at the end of this. He admitted that he wasn't ever going to destroy the machine without Bray Wyatt, and he joined them. He asked to join. He got Sister Abigail all over himself. Well, that sounds quite sexual.
He admitted, and then Bray Wyatt was like, "Yeah, you're one of us," and then hit him with Sister Abigail.
Yeah, that's probably better way.
He didn't get Abigailed all over.
He got Abigailed, baby. Yeah. I'm sure he's getting Abigail a lot now. He's involved with his family. Anyway, he joined the Fire family, which I think is fantastic. Personally, I think this is really cool. Like, you're gonna wonder now, next you're going to want to see Daniel Bryan now as part of the Wyatt family.
I'm looking forward to next week's Raw.
Yes, and as we said before, he didn't show on SmackDown. The Wyatts were there. Daniel Bryan was not there because they want to save it for the headline show. They want to save it for Raw, and he's going to come out, and then we're going to see, which Hawaiian shirt he's going to wear. I guess if he's going to come out with a goat mask, maybe, I don't know.
I did see a little Photoshop, and it was the Wyatt family, and there was like a goat mask on top of a yes 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 shirt.
But I think that this. If you're going to end Raw on a cliffhanger, this is the way you do it. This has got me really interested now to see the Daniel Bryan character, what he's going to look like, how he's going to be, what he's going to act like. Maybe this is a ruse, maybe it's not, sort of thing. It makes you ask a lot of questions.
The thing is, it was like there wasn't any sort of heel turn-esque actions about it, though.
A lot of people...
A lot of people's like, oh, he's turned heel. It's like, no, he hasn't really.
Yeah, he hasn't.
It almost looks like he just gave up on the sort of the fight against the Wyatt family, but it's not like he just turned around and went, you know what, fuck you all.
Yeah, he didn't do anything heel in this. He joined the Wyatt family, yes, but he didn't do anything heel. Which leads me to believe that he's not going heel. He's going to be part of the Wyatt family. It's not as if the Wyatt family get uber booed anyway. People like to see them. People often cheer when the light goes out and they start walking out and stuff. So he's going to get somewhat of a face response. He may even keep doing the yes chants. We don't know this yet. But I think this is going to play into the fact that Daniel Bryan is going to take his fight to the Authority or whatever. Even though apparently Punk versus Triple H is a lock for WrestleMania. We'll see how this goes. This is interesting though, regardless. No matter how this plays out, this is interesting.
Hey, we've got Royal Rumble to get through first. We'll get that out of the way, and then we'll sort of start making speculations, I think.
Yeah. And personally, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in the next couple of weeks that you're going to want to watch Raw about. You're going to want to see what Daniel Bryan's like, a part of the Wyatt family, and you're going to want to see the return of Batista. So there's a lot of things that you're going to want to see on Raw the next couple of weeks because it's coming up to WrestleMania season. So you're going to start getting higher quality shows, which means better for the likes of you and me and everyone that's watching this podcast. So
definitely.
Can't really say much more good stuff really about the end of this end of the show. It ended just as I think more Raw should do, as relevant, makes you guess in your head.
Yeah, there was a lot of what if and maybe what's happened and sort of problem moments where it's just like I don't know.
Which is good.
Rather than it's over now.
Yeah.
Bye.
It's good for podcasts like ours, isn't it, that we can chat about more stuff. So, I appreciate that. So that was Raw, all in all. There was some pretty bad parts of it, as we said, but there were some noteworthy things. All in all, I think this is a Raw worth watching, especially if you just think that the Christmas show is what Raw is like every week, then this one may prove you wrong.
If the Christmas show was the first episode of Raw you've ever seen, then this one might make you change your mind.
Yeah, in terms of leaving wrestling altogether, not just WWE. So that was Raw, and we're going to return back to our topic this week as well, which is good. Because one of the things that we do on Let's Talk Wrestling is that we normally talk about topics that come up. Now, these are things that we talk about. We're basically going to go into it more than we would on a segment of Raw. This week's segment, we're going to be talking about in depth about the WWE Network. I've done a little bit of research on the WWE Network. They've kind of released a little bit more stuff about it as time goes on. They are obviously trying to launch it this year. They've been trying to launch it for years now anyway, the WWE Network.
Yeah.
Now, the idea is that they need, apparently, you'll get the network for whatever fee they come out with. I don't want to say a fee now because they have got one up. I think it's like $20 or whatever. But they obviously might change that closer towards the time. It's more likely that they will change it close towards the time. But with the network, with the channel, if you purchase it, you will apparently get all of WWE's back catalogue. So you'll get all the episodes of Raw that they've got, or I think all the WCW episodes that they've got on
I think it's meant to contain the WCW library as well, yeah.
All the pay-per-views, all the little segments. Obviously, it will include the sort of gimmick shows that come up, like Legends House and stuff like that. Maybe game shows that they come up with, those sort of stuff that outside of wrestling but still involves their talent. And it will also feature all of the pay-per-views outside of purchasing them, so you'll get them with the channel for purchasing it. So you'll be paying, a set amount each month, but you'll get the pay-per-view with it, guaranteed, and you'll also get the entire WWE back catalogue along with it. What that seems very, very good. Obviously, we talked about Chris Benoit still being featured in it, and they obviously couldn't find a workaround. If they could find a workaround for Chris Benoit not being in all those episodes, I'm sure they would do it, but they're not going to, so they have to do that. So they're hoping to launch it this year, and they need at least, apparently, 1 million subscribers to start making a profit on it. Which they think they're going to hit. I think they might have a few stumbling blocks, especially early on, especially if you've got all these people accessing all this different content. It's going to be hard to kind of say for sure that you're going to be able to get all that content running smoothly.
It's about it's no longer, because they were originally after like the WWE Network would be a TV channel.
Yeah. Which I think they've moved away from since then.
I think, so now it's sort of like a locked away vault of online content.
Yeah, essentially. Now, they're obviously still going to have their pay-per-views available to buy on pay-per-view for people that don't want to get the channel, as far as I know anyway. They're not going to make it exclusive to the network, and I think that would be silly to do that as well. But, to be fair...
We've made it exclusive, well, aren't you just dicks?
Yeah. I mean, if they are going to go with this price model, I think that's pretty fair to pay that amount of money, which is probably less than a pay-per-view anyway. You're paying that on a monthly basis, and you're getting the entire back catalogue for you to watch, all the Raws. I don't see too much of a problem with this business model. Personally, if they want to go for it this way, then I think it could be good for wrestling fans that they'll have all of that. There's hundreds upon hundreds of hours. Thousands of hours even of wrestling content that you could go back and watch. Let's say that you want to go back, Matt, and watch the 1,000th episode of Raw, or you want to watch the Raw after WrestleMania where Dolph Ziggler cashed in, because they were good Raws. You can go back and watch them on the fly. It's a good idea, and I get what they're going.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Just the execution of it, and obviously this is something so far out of what WWE have done before that I almost look at it almost like a game launch, an online game launch. There's going to be a lot of bugs to start off with, and then that if you've got it on the network and for some reason the network goes down in the pay-per-view, they're going to have to refund people, and that's going to take so much money out of their pocket for that as well.
Definitely. You
have to take all this into account, and I think the only show I can't be quite honest, but I think the only show that you don't get with it is WrestleMania. I think you have to purchase that in pay-per-view regardless. Which, fair enough. I'm not that bothered about it because you're still getting 12. You're still getting 12 pay-per-views in a year for the price of less than what you're paying for it now. Someone like me who doesn't have the sports channels, which is weird because I absolutely I don't just love wrestling. I love all sports really. I mean, you know that. I watch cricket, tennis, football. Baseball, all sorts of stuff. I'll watch it all. But for someone like me who maybe doesn't want to, in the country that I'm in, if I were to get the sports channels that has Raw on, I have to go and pay like €60 for it, which is just tremendously poor.
To basically sell your soul.
Yeah, so I go other means. If they were going to do this and make it available over here in Ireland, which is where I live, then that's a really good price for that. Able for me to watch all the wrestling content that I want on the fly. But this.
My only problem is
Go on.
My only problem with it is, I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. It's like, it's going to be like, cheaper than even a pay-per-view purchase a month, and all this content. But it's just like, that's cool, but. Would I get my money's worth out of it?
I do get what you're saying because after
pay-per-view week, like we were talking about this just after TLC, like both you and me struggled to get through both TLC and Raw in the 1 week.
Yeah, very much so.
And it's like, I already have like 3 hours of wrestling viewing each week. Am I going to have time for like, I got nothing better to do. I'll watch an old event or something like that, and it's just like, I don't know if I'd get money's worth out of it.
They're oversaturating their viewing time as it is now, let alone having it so you can watch more. It's sort of, they may experience a sort of thing where the majority of the people that end up buying this are watching it just for Raw, and they've got all this back catalogue that they've prepared to be watched, and it's not being watched. I mean, I can guarantee you there's going to be some episodes of Raw that no one's going to watch because why? There's hundreds of episodes of Raw that will be throwaway episodes that I wouldn't even look at again because that's the way they are. In fact, pretty pretty much all the Raws that are in the middle slot of the pay per view. You know, where they've
Well,
got
you mean like if it's not the week after or the week before a
Yeah.
pay-per-view?
the middle ground one where I'm just looking to throw them away because there's no point in watching them because they're building up to the pay per view. Why would I do that when I could just watch the pay per view or the Raw that's got something relevant on it? So they may end up preparing all this back catalogue for nothing. But yeah, there are weeks, a lot of weeks really, that go by where 6 hours of Raw or 6 hours of wrestling, WWE wrestling, is far too much. And that's the reason why I don't watch SmackDown, regularly. I want to watch NXT, but it's hard to keep up with all the stuff they're going on, and I mean, what NXT is actually a lot easier over here to watch than it is in the US, which is quite odd, in considering.
It's kind of easier as well because NXT is only an hour.
Yeah, and it's an hour of pretty high made content as well. I think that's one of the things. I mean, we're going off a tangent here, but that's one of the things that's good about NXT is that it's in a very small arena, and I think that the guys that go there obviously are wrestling fans and they enjoy that sort of style of product.
I know we've completely just sort of stepped away from the talk.
It's what we do, just embrace it, yeah.
But like with NXT, like even watching it, like do you remember watching old one night only ECWs, and you get dedicated fans like the EC dub chants and all that lot.
Yeah.
You get that at NXT.
Yeah, and they do, and they go, I love it.
But it's great. It's like you don't get fans at you don't get Raw, just like people who go Raw. It's like, but you get that at NXT.
Yeah.
I think it might just be the smaller scale of things.
They do this at the open air stadiums, don't they? Where they do like a show like WrestleMania, and it doesn't seem like the crowd are chanting. And it may be that they are. It's just because the sound escapes. I mean, that's the nature of the stadium. I mean, I like open air stadiums just because I think it's something special. But yeah, I do agree. Like if you've got like a very smaller arena and you pack it with real die-hard wrestling fans, then you're going to get a real lively crowd. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Raw after WrestleMania normally gets such a huge fan response, because they're fans that actually stayed from WrestleMania because they wanted to catch the Raw afterwards.
And the fact
that pumped up.
Most of them are even sort of like travelled.
Yeah.
Because say for example, if you and me went over for Mania, we'd stay for the one after.
Yeah, it seems like...
Why not? We're already over there.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a shame to go to Mania and then not go to the Raw afterwards, especially as the Raw afterwards has got a pretty high reputation at this point. There's going to be someone huge that returns. There's going to be all this stuff, maybe a Money in the Bank cash in, or all this stuff, So yeah, it's got a good reputation. So, but going back onto subject before we segue way off of target. The WWE Network. I mean, I know they've changed their business model so much because I think they're really worried about. They've always said that they're very confident that it's going to be a success, but I mean, I'm not as confident. I mean, they have to be confident it's going to be a success because they're doing it, but I'm not as confident as it's going to be a success, especially if they do it and maybe people decide, okay, you know what I'll do? I'll just catch the pay-per-views, rather than having this, I can get someone else who's got the channel to tell me whether it's worth watching the pay-per-view, and if it's not, I just won't watch it, and that way I miss out on paying entirely. I don't even have to watch any wrestling that month and just watch it when it's relevant. I can see a few people doing that, personally. Not you and me, because we're die-hard wrestling fans. We're into it now. We're not exactly going to go out of it now, sort of thing. I won't disagree though. I mean, there's been a few times where I've taken a big chunk away from watching wrestling. I think the longest I went without watching wrestling, I think, was a couple of years ago, and I stopped watching Raw for about 6 months. I truly did, and I know that there might be a few people that go along that as well. But I mean, have you ever been in that sort of position where you just kind of thought, okay, I'm going to give myself a break now. I need to detox myself from Raw because...
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of... I don't think it was about 6 months or so, but yeah, it was a while. It's just literally just like, meh.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it got to a point like literally, I think I may have still watched the pay-per-views, but that was about it.
Yeah. I mean, I would do the same. I'd still catch the pay-per-views if they were if they were like a SummerSlam, then I'd make a point to try and watch them and everything like that. But now I was on the same sort of boat as you during that period. I think now the wrestling sort of product is a little bit better. Personally, there's guys that I want to see in the ring now. There's rivalries that I can see developing, and there's new characters involved, so it's a lot more interesting to watch. And I think if I were to stop watching Raw, I'd probably end up going and watch NXT, or I may even watch the episodes of TNA. I wouldn't exit wrestling as much as I would back when I did, because there's alternatives now to it now. I might even go and watch more indie stuff like Ring of Honor. I might even though they've got such a sketchy history of iPay-per-views, but I mean, there's a few iPay-per-views that I catch now and then, of just random promotions that are putting the iPay-per-views up for free, and I may end up just going back to that, because but in terms of what's on Raw at the moment, I don't see that happening for a while. There's guys I want to see, there's careers I want to see blossom in WWE at the moment, and there's reason to watch it. I mean, you and me, we do our fair share of burying, shall I say, of certain wrestlers on WWE's payroll, but
yeah,
there is reasons to watch it, and we try and say when they are reasons to watch Raw anyway. So,
that's it.
Yeah. I think we segued enough. I think we got our point across about the WWE Network as well. It'd be interesting to see how this kind of goes forward, and if they make any more changes. I think they will. I think they're going to change their business model again. I don't think they know what they want with this WWE Network.
I remember like a year or so ago they were talking about like all these extra programs that they were going to do, and there was like one of them was like cooking for the Big Show, and it was literally like how. Because obviously Big Show isn't married to like a 7-foot woman. Like I think she's apparently like 5'2" or something like that. Yeah,
she's quite a tiny little.
And it's like, how does she manage to deal with him and his appetite, sort of thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, that's kind of interesting, but probably wouldn't watch it.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I know, I may be wrong here, but I think they've done Legends House. Legends House is filmed and done. As far as I know, and it's just been in the vault waiting. The problem is,
does Legends House just basically sound like WWE's MTV Cribs?
No, it's basically WWE's Big Brother, but with legends.
Oh yeah,
that's basically it.
That could be cool.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I.
But the only problem it would literally be that the only problem is like you get a load of wrestlers together, and especially legends and things like that. It would literally just be like the entire duration would just be talking wrestling.
Yeah, which you're buying the WWE Network.
Well, you're getting off the WWE Network and you're expecting some sort of wrestling content, but it literally would just be, I remember when I had this match and like my favourite sort of match, and I enjoyed watching this match, and it's like, the best thing about. I mean, you could learn things off of it as well.
Yeah, I mean,
if you had like legends, it's like not as many Legends House, but if you had like some legends, some mids, and some sort of like. Some guys who are in the Hall of Fame, and then some guys who are sort of well on their way, and then some startups sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you could learn things, because then you'd get stories and things. So it's one thing I like listening to the Austin podcast, and like you hear all these sort of little extra stories, and you're just like, that's really damn good, actually.
Yeah, it's interesting. They did actually do a show on WWE programming called Legends Round Table, and they had the likes of Dusty Rhodes. They had I think they had Bret Hart in it once, a few times, Mean Gene Okerlund, and they basically would talk about classic parts and one of the ones if you haven't seen Legends Round Table, just YouTube. The one of Dusty Rhodes talking about the Shockmaster. It is funny as hell. I mean, the whole skit itself is funny as hell.
The Shockmaster was funny enough, isn't it?
But go and YouTube that. That's my one YouTube clip of the week for you to go and listen to or watch. That is quite hilarious, and that'll show you kind of what that show's about. But as far as I know, the whole Legends House thing was like, I hope they don't get the guy that is with the really like what accent did he have again on Big Brother normally?
Oh, the Welsh guy.
Yeah, he was like
D28 in the Legends House.
Yeah. The Iron Sheik is scrubbing his balls.
The Iron Sheik has had a bath, and he's sitting around talking to Bret Hart.
It would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? So let's hope it's not exactly akin to that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, is there anything else that you want to add for this week, then? I
haven't got anything to add, no.
Yeah, I think
I'm sort of stuck in the mindset of like the Big Brother guy.
Yeah, let's wrap things up there before things get too bad, shall we?
Before it gets crazy.
All right then, guys. Thanks a lot there for listening to the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. If you do want to have this on our Podbean site to be able to stream it to your phone, just send me a message. As soon as I get one message, I'll put it straight up on the thing. I don't think many people do anyway. I think accessing it on YouTube is fine. And that's YouTube is always the best place to get the highest quality audio for this podcast. So just to let you know that as well. If you have any questions, we'd be more than happy to answer them. Just send us a message. We probably won't answer them in the near future. I'm going to build up a few, and then maybe do like a big blowout of questions. We may even do an episode just dedicated to questions of fans of the podcast, and then we go from there. And I will make reference to people's names who send messages in, so you can have a chat on the Let's Talk Wrestling podcast. So this week, obviously, next week is going to be Old School Raw. I'm going to be marking out mad for that, so I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Apart from that, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
We'll catch you soon.
Yeah, bye bye.